Hey guys, welcome to Split. Today we are talking about the Watch 5 Pro. Top of the line when it comes to smartwatches in the Samsung lineup. It is running the latest in Wear OS, layered with Samsung's One UI. Is it the perfect Android smartwatch? I'm not sure. Let's talk about it. Okay, so the Watch 5 Pro comes in just one size, tough lock, right? 45 millimeters. So if you have really small wrists, it might not be for you. If you have even medium-sized wrists, it might not be for you. I'll explain a bit further as we go down the line. But if you're somewhere in the average to large, this should be perfect for you. It only comes in two colors for now, black and some grayish metallic color like that. And there have been changes here. So we'll talk about the features, what makes this the Pro version. But on the outside, it does look similar with some, what I would call a major change, is that they've just taken off the rotating bezel. This is the Watch 4 Classic. This is probably one of my favorite Samsung watches. This rotating bezel is practical. I don't have to touch and jab my screen every second when I want to go left or right because it's just intuitive. I just roll the bezel to the right to see my apps. I roll left to see my notifications. But right now, everything is swipe central. Well, not really. There is a capacitive touch rotating bezel, similar to what they did with the Watch 4. That's here now as well. But because of the raised edge on the Watch 5 Pro, it may be easier to trace that capacitive, tile digital rotating bezel. It's not moving physically, but when you move your hand around the edges, it does control. It acts like a rotating bezel. It moves, and it gives you haptic feedback to give you the impression that you are clicking something. Not as good personally for me as the rotating bezel here, but call me old school, call me stuck in my ways, but it is what it is. And I have seen some complaints online, but this does work. Don't get me wrong, it works for a lot of people and it might be perfect for you. So something to keep in mind when you're upgrading, if you're upgrading to the Watch 5 Pro. So what else is new on the outside? You still have a back button, power button on the side. The case is now titanium on the Watch 5 Pro. This was stainless steel. This is still perfect. I think it's okay. Apparently I'm not blocking enough bullets or whatever, but it does make the watch a tad heavier. Another addition for that rugged feel of the Pro nature, I suppose, is the screen is now sapphire crystal glass. So it's much harder, much resilient to damage and scratches. I have bumped this against the wall a few times because I'm clumsy, human, like everybody else. But I don't have a nick on the screen. I have bumped this as well, to be honest, but again, this raised edge design tends to prevent you from doing a perfect hit on that screen. So again, this has still been pretty durable in my usage time, but this is supposed to be way stronger based on this design. Owing to that, it is now thicker. Yes, it is a big boy compared to this guy. And that's owed to the new advanced sensors, and there's a bigger battery in here. We'll talk about those sensors a bit more and the battery later, but keep in mind, it is thicker. You may not notice it if you have a big wrist and it's sitting perfectly, but there's one thing that irks me, that bugs me about the design is the bands that come with it, right? When you take the bands that come with it with this new clasp system, which the clasp system is not bad at all, it's really cool, it's magnetic. You sort of slide it through this and then you can just, slap that in. But the hinges, the lugs that lock on to the edge of the watch are designed to sort of push the watch down so that you can make perfect contact with your wrist. However, it does leave holes at the side if you have a medium to small wrist. So I feel like I could shoot something through here, pew, 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 if I had like rockets or something, but it's weird. So nobody might be looking at your arm from that direction, but for me personally, it just feels a bit uncomfortable compared to the standard lugs which just sit flat on your wrist. So whenever I use it out in the real world, I just sort of swap them out with the quick interchangeable bands. Any 20mm bands will do. Okay, so in terms of features, what makes this Pro? Oldies and goodies are still here. It tracks over 90 forms of exercises with auto tracking for a lot of them. Auto tracking, if you don't know, is if you're engaging in one of the exercises that it has and you didn't set it to automatically track, it will just turn on and start tracking. It'll figure out that you're working out and show you on the screen that would you like to record this? Usually about 10 minutes in, and then when you hit the button, say, yes, I am working out, it'll just tack that 10-minute on to that workout, so you're not starting from scratch. And sometimes it'll auto pause if you're walking or running, which I think is a very convenient feature for health tracking. It just makes sense. You can't always be, intentional about turning it on, especially if you're spontaneous workout and stuff. But when it comes to Pro level, what they've done here, they've upgraded the navigation features. So if you're biking or hiking and you're adventurous for some reason and you go off on a path you don't know, there is a track back feature here that you can just tap and it'll guide you back to your starting point. So, and that's a feature you would typically find on pro level workout devices like Garmin, the ones that are dedicated to full-time GPS tracking, yada yada. But that's here now. I guess that's why it has the Pro feature. It is running the latest Wear OS, layered on with One UI 4.5, which feels pretty familiar with the swipes left and right, toggles from the top to bottom. So you can then install apps, remain independent. The sensors have been updated to enhance things like your sleep tracking. However, you have to wear the watch for a period, I think about 5 nights straight, to get full advantage of the sleep coach, which then analyzes the differences between your REM sleep, deep sleep, light sleep, and tells you what you should be doing better, go to sleep earlier, turn off this light, turn off notifications, blah, blah. Basically to help you get better sleeping conditions or help you sleep better at night. There is a new sensor here at the back, and it's also on the Watch 5 as well as the Watch 5 Pro. It's a temperature sensor, but it's not active right out of the box. This is supposedly in the long run is gonna help you enhance sleep tracking. But like I said, it's not active right now. Some software update is probably gonna kick that into full gear. Speaking of function, right? So these watches track ECG, blood pressure, and all the others, composition, body composition is one cool one where it helps you put your index and middle finger on the watch, and it tracks your full body composition, and you can tell you what your BMI is, if you're underweight or overweight. Keep in mind, this is not for you to use as an exchange for your doctor. It is just for information purposes, so you should go to a hospital if there's a problem, but it is there. For some people, depending on the country where your watch is bought, the FDA-approved EKG and blood pressure monitor will work right out of the box. For some other countries, Nigeria and so on, it won't work. So that's a very important feature you have that doesn't work, and you're paying the same price as everyone else in the world, possibly more because of exchange rates. And I don't know if that's fair, or should I be writing a petition? Not important. But just to let you know, depending on where you live, this feature might not work for you. So there's a list, Samsung has a list of where this thing is active, where it's not. So check that if that's really important to you before you engage in buying this watch. This is also the case in the Watch 4. Even goes back as far as some devices as the Watch 3. Okay, let's talk about battery power. I mean, it is Pro, right? Now, that's where a lot of smartwatches tend to struggle. How long do they last? Do you have to charge them every night? Okay, I'm slightly happy to report that this guy has a 590 milliamp hour battery, which is 60% more power than this guy, the Watch 4 Classic. So Samsung sort of claims this will give you 80 hours of power. Now, several days, it's about 3 days plus. In my real world use, when I use it without working out, GPS tracking, maps, music, but the GPS was on, but I used the watch normally, I got about 70-ish hours, which is pretty impressive. But when I did full-on tracking, use it as shutter, the works, I got about 50-ish hours. So I am yet to hit the 80-hour mark. I'm pretty sure I can if I just went to battery saver mode and just optimize it. I'm pretty sure I'll probably hit that 80 hours fairly quickly, but then it just becomes a timepiece. It's a smartwatch, it's supposed to do smartwatch things. Turn on more notifications, more than 4 apps. I suspect you're gonna range anywhere between that 60, 70 hours like I did, but let me know what you guys get in the comments below. Okay, wrapping it up. Is it Pro enough? I think it's a slight upgrade in comparison to the Watch 4 Classic, especially. If you have this, there's really no reason to come here, in my opinion, because with enough third-party apps, you will do almost everything this watch does, save for the stronger screen and body. Like I said, if you're not blocking bullets, you should be okay in the long run. But it is a great watch. Is it one of the best Android watches out there, period? Absolutely. Right now, Samsung is killing it. So if you're just getting into Android watches and you're looking for an Android smartwatch, this should be right up there on your list, especially if you're into working out and tracking it. The tracking module is fairly accurate. I compared it against a chest tracker, and I went to my local health center and I used proper BMI and blood pressure monitors, and they were fairly close. They tracked pretty much in the same range when you draw a graph. It works, Samsung. It's just that, like I said, those functions might not work out of the box depending on where you live. And that's my take. It's my hot take on the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Is it Pro enough? I think it's an upgrade, but I don't think it's Pro enough. Personal opinion, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's my time. I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take it easy. Yo, welcome to the Two Split, where we rap and split the nugget, freestyle off the cut it. Cause I'm a killer bee like the woo. 1, 2. Yeah, stop it. Just cut. Just cut.
I'm gonna put this part. It will shock you.